What if I told you that the most popular investment in the world might actually be a trap for your retirement income? Everyone tells you to just blindly buy the S&P 500. But there is a hidden, incredibly boring fund quietly generating massive passive income, and almost no one is talking about it. You have probably been lied to about how dividend investing truly works. High yields look amazing on paper, but a fat yield that never grows is simply a number standing perfectly still while inflation eats your wealth alive. Imagine a fund that doesn't just pay you, but gives you a raise every single year, without you ever having to ask a boss, without you ever lifting a single finger. Today, we are tearing down the illusion of traditional growth investing. We are going to look at SCHD. It holds over 100 massive American companies like Coca-Cola, Chevron, and Verizon. But it only picks them for one very specific, highly restrictive reason. They must have a relentless, unbroken history of paying and raising their dividends. Now, you might be thinking this is just pocket money. You are wrong. Very wrong. I am going to show you exactly how fast $1 million can double inside this fund. But more importantly, I will reveal a mathematical secret called the Rule of 72. This simple mental model lets you calculate the doubling time of any money you have. Whether you are starting with $1 million or just $500, the math absolutely does not care. Let's introduce John, an average guy with a big goal. John takes his money and puts it straight into SCHD. In the very first year, this fund is projected to pay him over $32,000 in pure dividends. That is more than $2,600 landing in his account every single month. He never has to sell a single share to get that cash. Meanwhile, his core account balance is also growing behind the scenes. It is up over 100 grand in just 12 months. So how long does it take for this safe, boring portfolio to double in size? Here is where the Rule of 72 comes into play. You simply take the number 72 and divide it by your expected yearly return. With SCHD's historical price growth, the raw math points to about 8 years. 8 long years. But wait. That is only if you treat this like a normal stock and completely ignore the true superpower of dividends. John is not taking that cash to buy luxury cars or expensive vacations. He is doing something far more dangerous to the system. He is reinvesting every single penny. This is the secret engine that Wall Street rarely highlights. Every dividend buys more shares. More shares generate a larger dividend next quarter. That larger dividend then buys even more shares. It is an unstoppable, self-feeding financial beast. And remember that strict rule about these companies raising their payouts? That means the shares John already owns are paying him more money every single year. His wealth is compounding in two completely different directions at the exact same time. When you feed those dividends back into the machine, the timeline to double his money gets drastically shorter. How much shorter? The answer will shock you, but I will save the exact number for just a moment. Because we need to address the elephant in the room. Why not just buy VO? Why not just buy the mighty S&P 500? It is the gold standard of investing. It is cheaper to own. It is basically the default answer of every financial advisor on the planet. If we put John in VO, it actually crosses the $2 million mark faster than SCHD. It is a pure growth machine. It wins the raw growth race clean and simple. But here is the devastating catch that most investors completely miss. Look at what happens to John's actual spendable income. If John has his money in the S&P 500, he is sitting on a massive fortune on paper. Yet, the dividend income coming off that massive pile of money can barely cover his basic monthly bills. By year 6, VOO is handing him just over $14,000 a year. That is barely $1,000 a month for being a millionaire. Now, let's look back at our boring dividend fund. In that exact same year 6, SCHD is paying John over $61,000. That is more than $5,000 every single month in pure, unadulterated cash flow. For every single dollar of income the S&P 500 pays him, SCHD pays him $4.50. And the gap is not just sitting there. It is violently widening every single year. SCHD raises its payout almost twice as fast as the broader market. This is the ultimate difference between being rich on paper and being truly financially free. A growth fund builds a mountain you eventually have to chip away and sell to survive. A dividend growth fund builds a golden goose that lays heavier eggs every single morning. You never have to kill the goose. Let's go back to John's timeline. We know year 1 sits at over 1.1 million. Year 2 jumps past 1.2 million. Year 3 clears 1.4 million. Year 4 shatters the 1.6 million mark. Year 5 brings him knocking directly on the door of 1.8 million. And then, in just under 6 years, the magic happens. The million becomes 2 million. 6 years. That is the time it takes a child to go from kindergarten to 5th grade. In that short window, John's money doubled, and he never lifted a finger to work for it. Stripping the dividends out would only get him to 1.76 million. Those reinvested dividends were the hidden force that dragged him across the finish line. The share price did the heavy lifting, but the dividends did the part that actually changed his life. This is exactly what a true dividend growth fund is engineered to do. It secures your present while aggressively building your future. But I know exactly what you are thinking right now. John started with a massive $1 million advantage. Most of us do not have that kind of money sitting around. Does this strategy still work if you are starting from zero? What if you only have $10,000 to invest? There is a way to replicate this exact massive growth with a fraction of the capital. But to do that, you have to look outside of ETFs and target 5 specific beaten-down stocks. I will reveal exactly what those 5 stocks are in the very next video.